Hey guys, it's Sim and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited as it's Wednesday and we're here to talk about AEW Dynamite. I enjoyed tonight's show. I thought it was really good. I liked basically everything they did tonight and I thought the show itself flowed really well. We also got Luke with us. Luke, right over here. What do you think of tonight's Dynamite?
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, I thought Dynamite was pretty good. I very enjoyed the show.
So, the very end though, is that a MJF turn or is that MJF paying the firm to beat him up to make Moxley think that they're not on his side and then they help him in the final match at the pay-per-view?
That is a good question. I don't know. I would assume it's just him saying, I want Moxley 100%, but the firm didn't listen to him. So maybe it's just the firm just saying, you know what, screw you. We don't need you.
I mean, that's probably what it is, but there was some lingering thought in the back of my mind going, what if MJF told them to beat him up? So then Moxley thinks that they aren't working together, but they really are, and they're going to screw Moxley out of the title. I mean, there's the possibility. It'd be a nice swerve.
Yeah, that would. I mean, we've seen something like that happen before. I don't think in AEW, but we've seen it other places
Yeah.
happen.
But with that, we'll get into all of that and more as we talk about tonight's show. But first, I want to say thank you for joining us here if you are watching live, twitch.tv/PWU Unlimited. Also, remember you can watch us later or listen later on youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. But if you are watching live, then you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can either help us out by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. You can also help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You can either be like esports gaming. No, you can be like Rosario 9248 recently did with a tier 1 subscription. Or you could be like, esports gaming rules 316 also a couple of hours ago re-upped their subscription with the tier 1 subscription. Really do appreciate that. Or you can be like other people that subscribe with their Amazon Prime or anybody's Amazon Prime, whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa, your auntie, your uncle, anybody's Amazon Prime. All you do is take that Twitch account, you take that Amazon account, you link them together, bada bing, bada boom, your Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and it always gives you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I greatly appreciate it if you subscribed right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that join button to become a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to news, early access to podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. And finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether that's a new game, whether that's an old game, whether you're claiming the free games or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, Fall Guys, or Rumbleverse, use our code PW Unlimited at checkout, and you'll be supporting us at no extra cost to you. Again, use code PWU NLIMITED for all Epic Games and Epic Game Store purchases to support us, even if it's the free games. I don't know how that works, but they still give us stuff for the free games. It doesn't cost you anything extra. But as far as the show itself does go, the show kicked off with, of course, Excalibur welcoming us to the show and saying he's here with Tony Schiavone and Taz. Opening match of the night was Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta against the Ring of Honor World Champion Chris Jericho and the Ring of Honor Pure Champion Daniel Garcia. Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager were all at ringside with Lord William Regal on commentary. And Regal at one point compared Excalibur to a creme brulee to keep up the tradition of making Taz feel uncomfortable by, I guess people say he's flirting with Excalibur. I don't really know exactly. So as far as the matches go, crowd, of course, 100% behind the baby faces. They delivered a double anvil elbow to both Jericho and Garcia early, who were saved by Menard and Parker, who pulled their buddies out of the ring. Where it's just like, I know this isn't, but shouldn't that be a DQ? Or at least get them kicked out? Well, I mean, yeah, if they pull somebody out of the ring, wouldn't you think?
I would assume.
I mean, it never
I
happens
mean,
like
yeah.
that.
I mean, yeah, like I think WWE does it though. Like if you pull like a ref or something out of the ring, you'd probably kick him out.
Right. But also,
But
WWE refs look way more competent than AEW refs. Their refs always look dumb.
they had too many comedy. The refs just add too many comedy to their roles.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure. As we move forward, back inside the ring, Garcia remained isolated on the babyface side until he kicked free from a giant swing and made the tag to Jericho. Claudio was tripped by Hayter right in front of the referee Aubrey Edwards, who did nothing. Fire Aubrey Edwards. Always, especially her. Doesn't do anything. As we just talked about, the baby faces or the heels helping each other out. And what happens? She does diddly squat. Nothing. Jericho hit a springboard drop kick that sent Claudio to the floor. Hager briefly continued his assault on Claudio before Jericho took control to ahead of a break. Yuta then made the tag at one point after the break and ran wild, sending Garcia to the floor and flattening Jericho with a huge splash and an angle slam for a near fall. Claudio and Yuta used great teamwork until Jericho countered Claudio's springboard uppercut into a code breaker. Yuta then wiped out Jericho, Parker, and Menard on the floor as Jericho tried to use Floyd the Bat, but was powerbombed by Claudio. Jericho was hit with the giant swing, while Garcia was in a fireman's carry position on Claudio's shoulders in an amazing-looking spot. Like, they always say how strong this man is, but he's got Garcia up here, and he's swinging freaking Jericho. Like, holy crap. Claudio then ran wild on everybody outside with uppercuts and finally put away Jericho with the top rope uppercut to pin. Remember this? He pinned the Ring of Honor World Champion, which is eventually probably going to lead to him getting another shot at the title. Oh, a rematch, because they never did the rematch after he lost the belt.
So I know this is still a long way away, but maybe they do Claudio versus Chris Jericho at Final Battle.
That's
for the
what
Ring of Honor World title.
That's what I was thinking as well.
I mean, I know it's still like a long time away, but I mean, that's something I would do.
Month and a half, was it December 10th? Month and a half or so. So, but yeah, that's what I would do as well if you're trying to sell a pay-per-view. I don't know if they have a bigger match for Ring of Honor than those two.
Right.
Because if I'm trying to think, it's like, okay, next week he made the open challenge. I want anybody that's been a champion in Ring of Honor, not just world champions. But it's like, who else do they have that the fans will really care about to go up against him? We already got Danielson 3 times, so that ain't going to happen again. So, for the pay-per-view, I don't know about that.
Not the pay-per-view. I thought you meant like just next week.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Roosh because the way he was like, it doesn't even have to be a world champion. So I think it's going to be someone that's not been a world champion yet in Ring of Honor. Because the way they harped on that.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do Wheeler Yuta.
Maybe Wheeler versus Jericho 101. That wouldn't be a bad idea. But I thought the opening match was really good. Go for it.
Like for the pay-per-view, yeah, I'd say like if you're trying to like sell tickets, just do Jericho versus Claudio for the world title.
That's the safe bet. But we go backstage. Speaking to Bryan Danielson, he's there with Renee at what they called, they said, now let's send it over to our broadcast partner, Renee Paquette, at the Mongo position. And I go, the Mongo position? When the hell did they start calling this the Mongo position? Because I know when Cody was there, he tried to get him to call it the Dusty position. Then they just ended up calling it the Go position. Now it's the Mongo position? Come on, AEW, pick a freaking name. Because he's like, well, send it over to Renee Paquette at the Mongo position. What? First, Mongo Steve McMichael? I don't even know. Anyways, Renee's backstage with Danielson. Go for it.
They keep trying like too many things out. It's like pick one and stick with it.
Like, gorilla position in WWE makes sense because Gorilla Monsoon, used to stand right at the curtain and watch the matches and then basically like give his input as soon as the wrestlers would come back. And then when WWE finally like fully made that their battle station, they named it after Gorilla Monsoon. Anyways, Danielson's with Renee, who said he is frustrated that he lost to Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia turned on him and Wheeler Yuta talked back to him. I was like, oh no, don't be one of these. Don't be like, you talked back to me. Meh. Don't even. He realized people hate Sammy Guevara and he's going to take all his frustration out on him tonight. Wheeler then comes through the curtain as he's exiting from his match. He interrupts and says he's not a kid. He's a grown-ass man. And they started shoving each other before Claudio jumped in the way and Regal walked up as well. Claudio said that Danielson is going to beat Guevara. And then they're all going to sit down and talk this out like gentlemen. Then a very interesting video package aired where it was a bunch of shots of the Elite from all over the history of AEW, but in each shot, they kept vanishing and disappearing. I know this is a thing that, you know, going to be for their return, but it's like, how soon is that return going to be? This is them finally saying they're coming back.
So before AEW started, I keep seeing all these reports saying like, oh, the Elite, they're going to return tonight. They're going to return tonight. And it didn't happen.
So if you saw anyone say tonight, then they don't know how to read. Because Fightful put out a report stating that, and I'll pull it up and read it verbatim, because Fightful actually stated something that would make people think that was possible. They stated, one source said that they heard it could happen imminently as far as the Elite returning, but nobody we heard from could definitively tell us when it's expected. And this report also said that they could return, but not right away on television, maybe just return in a backstage role as like producers and helping out backstage to get them back on the road before they're back on television. But this video package airing tonight of them disappearing, basically saying, hey, they're coming back at any time. That's how I took it. Oh, our Nick in the chat says a new Tim setup. Not just a new setup. I'm in a new house. I got new lights. I got me a Sony A6000 camera. Yeah, all kinds of new stuff, Nick. Tony Schiavone's backstage with the JAS, who's screaming about their loss. Jericho then, as we spoke about earlier, issues an open challenge for anybody that's been a champion in Ring of Honor in the past. He doesn't care if it's a trios champion. He doesn't care if it's a former tag team champion, any champion. And he says they are going to lose. The camera or the audio was weird here. It was doubling, like they had two different audio sources on for some reason. Like it was picking up the microphone, but also picking up audio from the camera maybe. I don't know. Not a big deal. They said they were sorry about it, but it's not that big of a deal. Go for it.
I mean, at first, like, it was like, you can't really hear like Tony or Chris. It was like, all you could hear was like the crowd.
I mean, true, but they fixed it where you still kind of heard the double, but you can understand it after like 30 seconds or so. But yeah, you are right. At first, you couldn't hear Schiavone. So moving forward, he also said that Guevara is going to beat Danielson. Then we had a tag team match. The winners become the new number one contenders for the AEW World Tag Titles of Swerve and Our Glory, Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, against FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler. So the Gun Club are at ringside, dressed as FTR, and that comes into play later. Also, they had to know this was going to happen, but the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn sit on the top of the ramp to watch the match, and they had to know that the crowd was going to hijack this match for Billy Gunn. The match hasn't even started, or like the bell barely rings, and they're, oh, scissor me, daddy. Oh, scissor me. And I'm like, oh, they had to know this was going to happen. Like, come on. They're not even talking about the match. They're just, the crowd's not like paying attention to the match. They're looking at Billy Gunn cheering for him. Eventually, after about 2 minutes, that stops, but it's like, come on. You had to know. As far as the match does go, I think this was a really good match. Whoa. Give me 1 second. My notes are out of order here. Swerve got taken down early by FTR, so he scrambled to tag in Keith Lee, who used his size to avoid a big rig. They're like, looks like FTR is going to go on the big rig or go for a big rig. I think Excalibur says that, and Taz goes, "Well, how are they going to pull that one off?" I kind of laughed at that. There was an amazing double leapfrog, drop down double cross by Lee on both members of FTR that took us to a commercial break. Cash Wheeler got taken down by Keith Lee with some chops in the corner. But that was during the picture-in-picture, so we couldn't hear how bad it was, but I bet you there were some hard chops. Wheeler tried a sunset flip, but Lee powered up and did a double overhead chop to crumble him down. Cash Wheeler then dodged a Keith Lee splash and backdrop Swerve to make the tag to Cash, who dished out some crazy amount of punishment to both Swerve and Lee. Lee was sent to the floor, and Swerve and Harwood traded near falls in the middle of the ring. Swerve slipped off the ropes, but quickly recovered. He hit a crossbody, and Harwood rolled through for a 2. Swerve was ping-ponged with a powerbomb into a British German suplex by Wheeler, who got a near fall. Wheeler then shot off of a series of uppercuts until Swerve vaulted off Harwood, tagged in Lee, and they hit a double team on Wheeler to take him out, and Wheeler on the outside. There was an electric chair spot as well, and Cash Wheeler kicked out at 2. Cash Wheeler then avoided a powerbomb into the Swerve stomp as Harwood ultimately planted Swerve at the bounce back powerbomb of his own. Wheeler was dropped with a stiff headbutt as Lee collapsed onto him for a close 2. Lee was cut off in the corner by Harwood, who hit a massive superplex, but Wheeler did like a top rope splash, and Lee kicked out of a powerplex. Swerve then sent Wheeler into the gun club at ringside as Harwood rolled up Lee, who kicked out. But Harwood went to the ropes. Swerve hit a low blow with the ref turned on Keith. The gun club then held Wheeler Yuta at ringside as Lee put away Harwood with the ground zero and pinned him to win the match. So basically the gun club screw FTR. After the match, the gun club beat down FTR, and the Acclaim come down to make the save. They turned this into this really good match, but kind of I didn't really care for the finish of the gun club screwing them, and like, did the ref again not pay attention?
Yeah, like I really thought FTR was going to win this match because I thought they were going to go the route where FTR challenges the Acclaim, and then they finally give FTR the AEW tag titles.
Now, I didn't think that was going to happen. I'm going to have to disagree with you there. Because the sole fact of it's too early to take the titles off the Acclaimed. And if the Acclaim if FTR got the match, they had to win. And I just think it's too early with how over the Acclaimed are. It's just way too early.
But yeah, like I also agree with you. Like I didn't really like the way the match ended. You know, with the low blow, the gun club had to like interfere. Again, is this like another match they're going to set up for a final battle? Gun Club versus FTR for the ROH tag titles?
Probably. If do you wait that long? Since they screwed them tonight, I don't think in story FTR shouldn't want to wait that long.
I mean, well, the question is, they're like, when do they do it though? Do they do it full gear? Do they just do it like on a random episode of Rampage?
That's probably going to be what happens, that random Rampage.
Unless they do it like at their next like Battle of the Belts.
Have they announced another one? I don't think they have.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. As we move forward, Renee's backstage with Saraya. She gets like 2 sentences off, and then Britt Baker interrupts. They start bickering. And she's like, "Don't start with me." And Britt's like, "You started with me first." And Renee's like, "Stop. You know what? We're not doing this right now. We'll do it the proper way later." So next week, she's going to do like a sit down, and she's going to be like the mediary between the two. So she's like, because Britt went off, and then she's like, you started with me first, and this and that. And Saraya's like, well, if you'd let me talk, you'd know why I'm even here. You don't know. And yeah, it was a whole lot of what the hell.
This segment really meant nothing to me.
It didn't. It basically just said, hey, these two are going to have a sit down next week. Renee's going to be in the middle asking the questions. That's all it was. Set it for next week. Gladly, they kept it short. They didn't need it. It didn't need to be any longer than it was. Got more Renee, though. Basically, I like Excalibur when he's like, well, Tony, we don't need you for this one. Or something like that. And Renee's on the ramp. And she introduces MJF, who got the just biggest pop. Like, these fans love MJF. MJF said, the devil has arrived. And when asked by Renee how he feels about Jon Moxley defending the title tonight against Pentagon, MJF mocked Moxley. You go, you mean this guy? And he did like the Moxley stride, and he's like, and he like made fun of how Moxley talks and stuff. And MJF said that he got a little ahead of himself, saying that he'd wrestle the entire match clean. He's like, I'm still MJF. You know I'm going to cheat a little bit. He made a promise that he won't use his Dynamite diamond ring at Full Gear, though. He's fighting everyone who's ever said he wasn't enough at Full Gear and will shove it down their throats when he wins the title clean. MJF was going to say his tagline when Stokely Hathaway would interrupt. But the microphone was slapped out of his hand by MJF. He said if Moxley gets past Penta, the firm is not allowed to touch him. He said he wants Moxley at 110% because he wants to prove to everybody that he can take on and defeat Moxley for the title at his best. MJF said his catchphrase, and the crowd said it with him. He said, I'm MJF, and he went like that, and they said, better than you are, and you know it.
I really don't like the whole, like I'm gonna, fire you. Like, MJF's acting like he owns Stokely Hathaway's contract.
Well, so differently than with Wardlow, I don't think it's he owns his contract like he said he did with Wardlow. I think he, quote, pays the firm a fee to watch his back. And so they're on like a flat rate each month or something. And so he's basically saying, you screw up, I ain't going to pay you no more. You don't do what I say, you ain't getting that money. I think that's what it is, more than he owns their contract. Unlike with Wardlow, where he was like, I own you like my slave.
I mean, I guess it's better than saying, like, I own your contract.
Right.
I mean, paying someone to, watch your back. That sounds better.
Exactly. Unlike frickin' Andrade, who says he owns Matt Hardy and the Private Party. Moving forward, we got a video package for the Kingdom and Wardlow. Kingdom made fun of Wardlow's name. And then Matt Taven said that he wanted to challenge Wardlow for the TNT title this week on Rampage. That match was made official. Then we had Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara. This match was super good. Again, Regal on commentary. Guevara started off really quickly with some strikes in the corner and a double jump cutter for an early 2. Guevara flipped out of a German suplex, did a few leapfrogs, and tried one too many moves before Danielson hit him with a Romero special. Danielson let it go and opted to just pour down some more strikes. Guevara tried some forearms, but Danielson leaned into it and absorbed each one. While Danielson was wrenching at the wrist of Guevara, Excalibur informed us that Hangman Page is feeling better after his injury scare last week, is at home recuperating, and will be back as soon as possible. Danielson sent Guevara to the outside, hit a baseball slide, but as he went for a running knee off the apron, Guevara hit a jumping knee of his own and a huge springboard moonsault off the top to the floor. Guevara kept Danielson grounded during the entire picture-in-picture commercial break, with Ty Mello even getting a little shot in for her own good measure. Guevara foolishly went for the yes kicks, and it just woke Danielson up, who slapped the taste right out of Guevara's mouth. Danielson did his moonsault out of the corner and a charging clothesline. Danielson backdropped Guevara to the floor and took him out with a dive through the ropes. There was a shotgun drop kick back inside the ring, but Guevara countered a home run kick into a standing Spanish fly that looked really cool and super smooth. Guevara then took too long on the top rope, got crotched, and then flipped out of a back superplex onto his feet. Guevara tried a standing shooting star press, but landed right into the label lock. Danielson went up top, but Guevara popped up with the Spanish fly for a 2. Guevara hit the GTH, but Danielson countered into a poison Rana and a Busaku knee. Danielson poured down more strikes, stomps, right to the face. He sank in a triangle choke with an elbow, and basically Guevara passed out. He was out. Ref called for the bell. Danielson wins. I enjoyed this match a lot. I thought this was really, really fun. So what is that? That was 2 wins by the BCC over the JAS. Renee's backstage. She interviews Ray Phoenix and Alex Abrahantes about Pentagon. I'm like, why not just have Pentagon here as well? That was weird. They said tonight, Pentagon becomes a double champion. Abrahantes says that Phoenix should also become a double champion and challenge for the All-Atlantic Championship. As they say that, Christian and Luchasaurus interrupt, where Christian goes, did you not see last week where my monster put all the champions on notice? He's going to go for the All-Atlantic title. All of a sudden, Orange Cassidy walks up and goes, hey guys, you talking about me? You talking about this? Next week? I guess we can do it. So another triple threat for the All-Atlantic title. We just had one last week. Like, no one has to earn. This is a running thing I say about this damn company, but no one has to earn anything. Like, come on.
I mean, they kind of did the same thing with Matt Taven and Wardlow. Matt
Yeah.
Taven says, I'm coming after the TNT Championship. Wardlow says, all right, you got it.
So back to that really fast. I forgot to mention something that confused me. So when they did the video about Matt Taven making the challenge, they said, we saw last week on Rampage, the Kingdom made their way out there and had their eyes set on Warjo. And I go, Warjo? I thought they made references to FTR and the ROH tag titles, though, on Rampage. That was confusing. Maybe I mistook that initially, but I thought the whole thing was they're here. They want to go for the ROH tag titles that FTR have. But nope. Matt Taven said, I'm a former world champion. I'm a Grand Slam champion. And I want the TNT title. So I don't know. Again, somebody else doesn't have to earn anything.
Also, it's kind of weird because, like, like the Kingdom, they're a tag team. You would expect them, like, go after the tag belts.
Exactly.
It's kind of random that they're going after, like, Warjo. Warjo, they don't have tag belts. They have singles titles.
And the other thing, I thought when I hear Taven go, I want Wardlow for the TNT title, I thought that was then going to lead to Mike Bennett saying, and I want Joe for the TV title. But Bennett's just like, yeah, I back him. Well, I don't know. Hot Rod Bubba says the next Battle of the Belts has been announced for 2023 in Kansas. I'm going to look that up really fast. Not that I don't trust you, Hot Rod Bubba. I just want to double check myself. AEW Battle of the Belts 2023. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see anything on that. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying I don't see it anywhere. Like you would think if I Googled it, it'd come up pretty quickly. Let me try one more thing. AEW Battle of the Belts, that'll be number 5. Yep, nope, nothing. Maybe you can post a link, Hot Rod Bubba. As we move forward, we had Jamie Hayter versus Riho. Not a bad match. Crowd was behind both for the most part, but you could tell they were more behind Jamie Hayter than Riho. They were dueling chants early. Riho low-bridged Hayter and hit a top rope crossbody to the outside. Then the same thing happened from last week, or this is the same thing that happened last week when Riho returned. Hayter quickly recovered and drove Riho into the side of the ring and the guardrail. Hayter hit a series of spinning snap suplexes in the ring and was just manhandling Riho during the break. We saw the picture-in-picture. Hayter then took the ref while Baker got in some shots. At least they distracted the ref here. Baker gets in. She hits some shots on Riho. Trash talked her as well. Riho then cartwheeled into a drop kick. Did a Cazadora into a double stomp, which Taz said looked like it hurt like the Dickens. He said the Dickens. Rebel then ate a forearm off the apron, but Hayter blocked a Tiger Feint kick. She tried a suplex in the ring, which Riho countered into a Northern Lights suplex for a 2. Hayter rolled through a top rope crossbody into a brainbuster for a very close near fall. Riho floated over a back suplex into a crossbody and popped off a Hurricane Rana for a 2. Baker tripped Riho with a referee turned. Again, good job there. Which was enough for Hayter to block a sunset flip, but Riho flew into a code red for a cool, very, very close 2. Riho missed a top rope double stomp and ran into a backbreaker from Hayter. Riho spun out of a ripcord into a dragon suplex for another close 2. Riho again rolled through a ripcord into a roll-up, but Hayter popped up, flattened Riho, and then there was a third attempt at the ripcord lariat that connected and gave her the victory. So Jamie Hayter defeats Riho tonight. Another win for her. A really good match. I enjoyed this match. Probably one of the better AEW women's matches we've seen in a couple of weeks. And then afterwards, Toni Storm comes out, poses with her belt, and basically they're telling us, hey, her and Jamie Hayter coming up soon.
I will say, I do believe that AEW probably has something big for Jamie Hayter in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Because it looks like they're trying to make sure that she doesn't lose.
I would not be against her beating Toni Storm.
Oh, yeah. Because tonight, it was mainly like Jamie Hayter. Like, she beat the first ever, like, AEW Women's Champion. That's
right.
Something trying to make her, like, look really good to maybe beat Toni Storm for that
Exactly.
title.
So we got Renee for the 5th time, which I'm not complaining about. She was with Eddie. This was a weird segment, her and Eddie Kingston. Because she's like, so we saw your friends try to do like a little intervention for you last week. They're just worried about your behavior as of late. And he goes, yeah, my behavior. It's all good. He's like trying to like not show any emotion. He's just smiling. He's like, yeah, we're good. Let's talk about John. So John taking on Pentagon tonight. Penta's my boy. John, you're in for a fight. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to have to take John. How is that? Are we good? Am I done? I'm like, well, this is a weird segment that I have no clue where it could be leading to at all.
Like, how did Eddie Kingston get roped into this, though?
Well, I mean, he's friends with, like, close friends with both of them. So I get, like, it would have been cool if they asked more people, oh, we got the title match tonight. Who do you think's going to win? Or who do you think's going to win? You're like, that would have been, but it's like, I don't understand what this, like, it was centered around he's got attitude problems. So he's like, let's talk about somebody else. I don't want to talk about me. What attitude problems? Is this because of the Sammy stuff that we're supposed to know about? But if we don't, or if certain fans don't keep up with the dirt sheet news, they don't know about that. So is that what this is all about? He's got an attitude problem because he punched Sammy Guevara? Like, if you don't follow the backstage news, you would have no clue if that, and I don't even know if that's what this is, supposed to be based off of, but it's like, if it is, you're doing a bad job in telling us that.
Didn't Andrade, like, punch Sammy as well?
Yep, and he got sent home. But Sammy's close friends with Tony Khan, so he feels like he can get away with whatever he wants. I don't know. As we move forward, we got matches for the next couple of weeks. Well, next couple of shows, actually. Coming up this Friday on Rampage, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta will be taking on the team of Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Madison Rayne will be taking on Ty Mello. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And also, Wardlow will defend the TNT Championship against Matt Taven. Also, next week on AEW Dynamite, once again, we got Darby Allin against Jay Lethal. We got the daddy-ass birthday celebration in Orange Cassidy. Will defend the All-Atlantic Championship against Luchasaurus and Rey Fenix. Renee Paquette will have a sit-down interview with Saraya and Britt Baker. And Chris Jericho will defend the AEW World Champion against any former world champion or any former champion of AEW or of Ring of Honor in an open challenge. Now back to Madison Rayne versus Ty Mello for just a second. So when Sammy Guevara was in the ring with Bryan Danielson, they show Ty Mello at ringside at one point, and they go, Ty Mello's got a big challenge coming up this week in her match against the legend, just like Sammy Guevara right now against the legend Bryan Danielson. And I go, once they announced that it was actually Madison Rayne, I went, wait a minute. Did they really just compare Madison Rayne's career to Bryan Danielson saying she is a legend like he? What? Because again, when they were doing the Sammy Danielson match, they said Ty Mello has a match this week, or they said something along the lines of Ty Mello will will have a tough time against a legend during her match on Rampage this Friday, just like Sammy is right now against the legend Bryan Danielson. I'm like, and then when they say it's Madison Rayne, I go, whoa. You're saying that she has had just as a legendary career as Bryan frickin' Danielson? Come on, Excalibur. Jesus Christ.
Madison Rayne is definitely like not a legend.
No. She's, I would say, had a long career and is very knowledgeable and a good, I would say she's a good asset to AEW as a coach for the women's division, but I would not call her legendary, at least not on the same level as Bryan Danielson. Also, I forgot to mention, did you hear the one guy in the crowd during that match that kept going, Daniel Bryan, like so loud that it picked it up like he was next to the microphone?
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
I'll probably go. I'm going to go back and check that.
It went on, I swear, for at least a minute or two. If not, like 90 seconds to 2 minutes almost. Like, come on.
It's probably just someone trolling in the crowd.
It was, but it was just, he was so, like, either he was super loud or they're in a really small building.
I would assume a small building, though.
So we go to our main event. It's Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against Penta El Zero Miedo. And as Penta's coming out, frickin' Excalibur has the nerve to say, it's not every week we get a world title match here on AEW Dynamite. 1 week after Moxley defended the title against Hangman Page on Dynamite. It's not every week. No, it's just 2 weeks in a row. Like, come on. 2 weeks in a row.
I feel like it's every week on Dynamite. We see like some sort of title match that just randomly happens.
But it's just funny the way he was like, it's not every week we get a world title match here on Dynamite. We had one last week. We had one 8 days ago. Like, come on, Excalibur. So they did talk about how Penta, they kept talking about, oh, Penta was just in a grueling match, mask versus match for AAA. I'm like, yeah, that was like almost 2 weeks ago now. That he's recovered. He's wrestled since then. Anyways, both men teed off early on with chops and forearms until both spun out of each other's finishing attempts. Penta put a stomping on Moxley, and then he did his thing in the face, so Moxley flipped him off. Moxley was sent to the outside where Penta hit a somersault dive. Penta controlled most of the picture-in-picture break. There were some repeated slams on Moxley's head into the steps while breaking the count. Penta took off his glove to chop Moxley against the post, but Moxley moved and Penta smacked the steel post, allowing Moxley to take over. This lasted about 5 seconds as Penta hit a backstabber in the ring for a 2. Moxley hit a release overhead suplex into the corner, charging at Penta with a double down. Moxley then went for the mask, but both traded boots, resulting in Penta's sling blade. Moxley avoided a Fear Factor, or Fear Factory. It's one of the two. Fear Factor, Fear Factory. I've heard it said both ways. And he hit a Desperation Cutter and a pile driver for a 2. Moxley poured down some anvil elbows as Penta escaped a Bulldog choke attempt and snapped Moxley's arm back violently for a near fall. Both men fought to the side of the apron. Penta nearly hit a Destroyer on the steps, which Moxley countered into a DDT. Back in the ring, there was a King Kong lariat from Moxley for a 2. They said, we know how deadly the devastating that King Kong lariat can be. Look what happened to Hangman Page last week. Penta fought out of the corner and super kicked the leg of Moxley and hit a double stomp off the top to another Fear Factor for a close near fall. Penta opted for the pose as he tried a springboard, but fell into a paradigm shift, then a Death Rider as Moxley picks up the victory. So Moxley wins tonight, as we all assumed. Like, did anybody think Moxley was going to lose to Pentagon? I don't think so. We got post-match action. There's still like 5 minutes left in this show. The Firm hit the ring as W. Morrissey, the Guns, Ethan Page, and Lee Moriarty lay out Jon Moxley while Stokely Hathaway walked down slowly. Security then ran out and were beaten down by the Firm too, as Alex Marvez is shown backstage at the Blackpool Combat Club's locker room where they are locked inside. Moxley tried to make a brief comeback, but the numbers were just too much. MJF then hits the ring and told Stokely, "You're fired," and the Firm laid him out as well. Page hit the Ego's edge while Morrissey hit a choke slam through the ring table. The Firm then stood tall over both competitors. There we go. Very intriguing. And the show goes off the air. Like I alluded to earlier, it's one of two things. Either they really did just not listen to MJF, and now he's going to fire them. Now this is the big babyface turn. Or it's all a ruse, and this is all a plan from MJF to make Moxley think they're not working together so they can screw him at the pay-per-view. Thoughts?
I mean, I could totally see it being just like MJF just being like, you know what? We'll just like try to confuse Mox over here. We'll attack him at the pay-per-view. I mean, that could totally be like an MJF move right there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
go for it.
hard. But it's really kind of hard though, because like of like how they're like attacking him. They put him through a table. Like they kept attacking him after they put him through a table. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know.
That's why I'm
That's
kind
what
of
gets you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. That's where I'm kind of skeptical a little bit. Since already says finally they are doing this stuff that happened at GCW. Yes and no. I mean, yes, Morrissey attacked Jon Moxley at the GCW show, which cost him the GCW World Title, but they still didn't even reference that tonight. They should have referenced it, but they didn't. So I don't know. That was Rampage. No, Dynamite. That was AEW Dynamite. I thought overall a really good show, and nothing. The only thing I would say that I didn't like was the Eddie Kingston thing, because it was just awkward and weird, and it was just kind of like, oh, we need to throw Eddie on this show for 3 minutes. Like it was just a weird, awkward segment. Other than that, I thought everything else served a purpose. Even the like you might have not liked it that much, but even the Saraya Britt Baker thing, at least it was a reason they needed to do that, to tell us, hey, these two can't get along, so Renee's going to sit him down next week and have a chat.
So I got two questions. So
Go for it.
I would assume they do Saraya versus Britt at Full Gear. I would assume that's what they're building towards.
Probably.
But the question is how do you think Saraya will perform in the match with her not competing in such a long time?
I have no clue, because I don't even know how much she's trained, to be completely honest. Like she said earlier this year that she was looking for a ring in Los Angeles where she lives, where she could take some bumps just to see how she feels. But she wasn't looking to actually, at the time when she was still signed by WWE, train for an actual match. She just wanted to see that after all this time, how she felt taking a bump. So I don't even know how, where, and when she's been training. That is going to be an interesting one to see. Do they take? I assume it's going to be a super safe match for her first match back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I guess working with Britt's the smart move, because she's the one of the most. Well, let's see. Yeah, I would say Britt.
I would say Toni Storm was probably the most experienced.
Right. But if Toni Storm's busy with Jamie Hayter, and that's babyface, I don't think they want to do that either. So I think Britt's the next best option. Let's see. Remember, guys, you can be part of the show. All you got to do is text in to 510-906-1341. Again, that's 510-906-1341. Text in to 510-906-1341. But before we get to the text messages, I do have to check the polls. I got all 3 polls this week because Luke reminded me right before we went live, hey, Twitch poll. As far as the Twitter poll does go. Well, no, we'll go Twitch poll first. I got that up. 67% liked the show, 17% thought it was just all right, and 17% did not like Dynamite. As far as the Twitter poll does go, 55% liked the show, 22% thought it was just all right, and 22% did not like it. And finally, the YouTube community poll. Let's refresh that really quick. 61% liked the show, 23% thought it was just all right, and 16% didn't. As far as some of the comments, this person says, I hope MJF and John Moxley are okay. Well, yeah, duh. This person says, kind of get to the point of the main event for the story build up between Moxley and MJF, so main event was decent. I don't understand what they're trying to say there. This person's asking about WWE stuff. Person said the show was decent. Another person said, I thought the show was horrible. Yeah, okay. Wouldn't go that far. As far as the text messages go, only got 2. It says, when an AEW world title they're asking if an AEW world. So they're asking if they're going to unify the women's titles at AEW Full Gear. They worded it wrong, but I get what they're saying. And I have no clue because we don't know when Thunder Rosa is going to be back. Basically, what they're asking is, Thunder Rosa's the world champion. Tony Storm is technically the interim world champion. When are they going to put those 2 titles together? And I have no clue because we have absolutely no idea when Thunder Rosa is coming back. Also, I need to look something up regarding Thunder Rosa. Because Thunder Rosa is actually supposed to be in my hometown either soon or I missed it.
Was it for a meet and greet?
Kinda. So the local baseball team, once a year, they go from being the Grizzlies to the Tacos, and they do a big old taco night, and a bunch of the different food trucks get together, and they do like a who's got the best taco thing. And she was supposed to judge the competition, be one of the judges. But I don't remember if I missed it or not. Yeah, it's a big thing here every single year. I may have missed it. I think it was last week, actually. I'll have to look that back up because I'm not finding it for this year. I found last year's date, but I'm not finding this year's date because it was all over Twitter when they announced her. Let's go back to the text messages. I got another one here. This person says, I really hope they work things out and Punk can come back after his injury. Triple H would treat Punk like trash because he hates him. We don't know that. We honestly don't know that at all. I don't think so. If Triple H signs a CM Punk, and the only reason I think he would sign it was just to get under Tony Khan's skin, I don't think he would just bury him to bury him. I don't think he would do that. And if Punk had any sort of feeling like that could happen, I don't think he would sign anyways. Or says, when it comes to CM Punk, is he trying to buy his contract or Tony Khan? All right, so here's how it works. The whole buyout thing. CM Punk is signed to AEW for, say, 3 years total. We don't know. It's 3 or 5. We'll say 3 for this purpose. He's worked 1 year of that contract. Tony wants to fire him, yet Tony still has to pay him the remainder of his contract. And CM Punk seemingly has a clause in his contract that no matter what, he gets paid the full amount of his contract, which I assume is no less, but probably more than $3 million a year for, we'll say, 3 years. So Tony Khan, if he doesn't want CM Punk in the company anymore, has to pay CM Punk for those remaining contracted years regardless. Now, the holdup with all of this is Tony Khan can put a no-compete on CM Punk. They are now trying to work out how long that no-compete actually is. That's the last thing Dave Meltzer reported was they're trying to come to terms on the no-compete. That's the whole CM Punk thing. He's not trying to get out of his contract. They're trying to get rid of him, and so they got to pay him for him to leave, basically, which sucks, but hey, that's how things work, and that's the contract they signed.
I wonder what CM Punk would do after after all that.
Well, I mean, he could sit home for a while at least, or if not forever, on that big stack of cash he's going to get. I mean, he's going to get, I would say, no less than $6 to $8 million on the buyout at least. And that's if he's got a 3-year contract. If he's got a 5-year deal, add 2 more years to that. Add 6 to 8 more million to that. Because we know Jericho is making reportedly $3 million. And I believe Punk is making more than that, or just the same. Because what Meltzer had reported was that Jericho was either was making the most or second most of anybody in the company, something like that. And so it's like either he and Punk are making the same at $3 million, or Punk's making more than 3.
I would assume Punk is making more than 3, because that probably had to be like one of the ways to get Punk in AEW in the first place.
Oh yeah. So maybe it's 4. I mean, I don't see it being more than 4 or 5 million though. Even 5 seems a little high.
That's kind of, 5 is like the point where you're kind of like overpaying someone.
Right.
Where, like, just to bring him in.
That's why I'm thinking 3 or 4. Yet, if WWE wants him, he's going to have a lot of leverage as far as getting what he wants. Because, WWE is going to only want him because AEW couldn't keep him and AEW got rid of him and this and that. It's just going to be them going, hey, look who we got now from them. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing, though. Like, if WWE does bring in CM Punk, can they, like, control him, though? Can they be like, all right, like, this is what you can and cannot do?
I think, yes, in a way, because I don't think he comes in full-time there every week. I think he's on a Brock Lesnar Goldberg style schedule where, all right, here's where you're going to work. Here's your big match. Your big pay-per-views are going to work. We'll bring you in 3 weeks before the show. We'll set your stuff up, this and that. I don't think he's going to be like he was in AEW there just about every week. And so that can minimize the issues they could have with him in the locker room if he's not there every week. But with that, guys, I do want to say thank you if you are watching live, twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, or if you're watching or listening later, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, or podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, we will be back live on Friday. We're doing the wrestling wrap-up Friday morning, and I don't think I'm doing a SmackDown review, because I got a photography job for a Halloween event all weekend, and they may need me there Friday as well. So there may not be a SmackDown review this Friday. I will keep you guys updated and let you know 100% yes or no during the wrestling wrap-up this Friday morning. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Mine's jam-packed with work, but fun work. So I'll see you guys Friday. Have a good one.